Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Greetings and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am Hassan, Communication Executive at Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future, and I welcome all of you to this online international conference on understanding water governance and management strategies, finding solutions for common challenges, organized by Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future. Today, we have been joined by academicians, experts, and analysts from Pakistan and China to share their views and thoughts with us on the given topic. To commence the conference, I would first of all like to invite Ms. Reza, Deputy Director, Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future, for opening remarks. Over to you, Mariam.
Thank you so much, Lare. Greetings to everyone. I'm Reza, Deputy Director of Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you, all the speakers, all the participants from China and Pakistan for joining us today in this international conference. Before we formally commence our today's conference, I would like to give a brief introduction about our center, that is Pakistan Research Center for Community with Shared Future. Now, it is not a new center, as previously it was an integral part of CGSS, but now we have launched it as a separate think tank here in Islamabad. Now, Pakistan Research Center was established in 2020 in collaboration with Communication University of China, Beijing. This research center has been established under the prestigious program by Communication University of China, that is International Academic Network for Community with Shared Future. Now, our center is launched as a platform to support building shared culture and art, enhance people-to-people connectivity, which include tourism or trade and all other aspects, then foster regional connectivity, for example, BRI, CPAC, Eurasian region, and promote research collaboration. Our platform calls for closer coordination between Pakistan, China, and other research institutions to pave the way for joint ventures in multiple areas of mutual interest. Now, coming in the main theme of today's conference, that is understanding water governance and management strategies, finding solutions for common challenges. Now, as we all are aware that this theme holds a lot of significance in this present time because of rapid population growth, fast urbanization, rapid industrialization, and economic development, along with climate change and other environmental issues. They all have led to the global water supply crisis. Pakistan is a semi-arid region and primarily an agricultural economy. So it is currently facing a declining water availability and quality, growing water pollution, and overall environmental insecurity. So it is important to learn from our neighboring countries like China about their achievements in water governance, flood control, soil and water conservation, water supply, and agricultural efficacy. So in this recent years, the Chinese government has taken many initiatives to improve water management, including institutional reforms and the most important water regulation system and responsibility development. So there are many aspects which are important to highlight and discuss to share ideas and have a fruitful discussion. And I'm really looking forward to hear from all of you in today's conference. Thank you so much. Lareb, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mariam, for highlighting what our center does and what we aim to achieve to today's conference as well. So our first panelist for today is Professor Youwei. He is the Associated Professor at the Hohai University, Nanjing, China, and he will be discussing China's water governance and challenges, recent developments and achievements. Over to you, Professor.
Okay, thank you. I will first share my screen.
Yes, please, sir. You are the co-host. You can share your screen.
Okay, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir, quite visible.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman. And it's my honor to be here to present some of the improvement and developments, also the achievement that China developed in the recent years. My topic today is water governance and challenge in China, recent developments and achievements. My name is Youwei. I'm from Hohai University. Hohai University is a university that specializes in water and water engineering and hydraulic, something like that. And I have also been very honored that I have been visited Pakistan before. In Istanbul, I have stayed around 2 months. In 2019, I have visited some of the friends and some of the government department, for example, the water resources, Department of Water Resources before. So I understand that China and Pakistan have share very similar problems. Today's presentation, I will start in 3 sections. One is the water security issues in China, and one is the water security issue, and the second part is the water safety situation in China, and there are some conclusions made thereafter. So firstly, water security issue is a global issue. Water security issue is a global issue. One of the most important issues that we face together of Pakistan and China is water shortage. So according to the millennial ecosystem assessment, there are around 1.1 billion people suffer from lacking water, and over which 80% of population is threatened by water security. So the International Water Resources Management Institution predicts that in 2025, there are around 3 billion people will suffer from lacking water, which also will affect more than 40 countries. And another thing that affects us is the unreasonable development of water resources leads to the deterioration of water ecological environment. In China, we have made very fast economic development in the last 20 years, but there are also some of water-related issues, such as the extensive water intaking from major rivers and some excessive sewage discharging into rivers that happened a lot in the last 20 years, and which will cause the shrinkage of lakes and wetlands, also groundwater subsidence, seawater intrusions, and land desertification, soil erosions. And when I was stay in Pakistan in 2019, I have also seen that there are a lot of the Pakistan that rivers suffer from low flows. So because I understand that both China and Pakistan, we take a lot of water for the irrigation. And then another thing is climate change increase the uncertainty. So as we know, the climate change will mainly causing the increase in the temperature, and which will cause the flood and drought disasters that have risen rapidly in some areas due to climate change. So according to the IPCC report, we know that the spatial and temperature distribution of water resources will become more uneven in the future, which will cause many problems. For example, too much water, we have the floods, and too little water, we have droughts. So the water shortage capacity of glaciers and the snow caps will also decrease, and the risk of heavy rain or flood will increase. So I guess Pakistan also suffer from this problem because the mailing water is the main recharge for the Indus River. And this is also become a global issue. A lot of international institutions, they have spent some of the pay much attention on this problem. For example, the Asian Development Bank, the aim is they want to build a water security framework for Asian Pacific countries. Now I will talk about some of the water safety situations in China and what we did. So mainly the first thing is too much water. China has suffered from the flood control safety. So because we have China has a very complex water system. As you can see from this slides, I have listed the 7 main rivers, among which you may know the Yellow River, which is one of the most important rivers, and another one is the Yangtze River. The Yangtze River just cross a lot of very developed province. For example, the Jiangsu, Shanghai. These provinces have a lot of populations and very high economics. Also, there another river, the Pearl River. Pearl River is also the Yangtze River and the Pearl River. They just run through the most developed area of China. So so how to deal with the flood problem along these rivers will be very important. What we had is China has made a very huge achievement in the last 10 years. The most important thing we did is about flood control and disaster reduction. So to achieve this, what we did is mainly there are a lot of along the main stream of the river. We have basically formed the flood control and the disaster reduction approach. And the important river section have the ability to prevent the largest flood since 1949. As you can see from the picture below, what we did is we build up a dam and build up the monitoring and early warning system. So these are the engineering solutions. For example, we build up dams and build up the embankments, which will help prevent flood. And another thing that's important is we also build up some of the monitoring system. For example, we also build up some non-engineering solutions. One thing is the monitoring and early warning system and the flood scheduling system. And another thing is that we also develop some of the flood storage areas. By doing this, we have built up a lot of the flood control systems in the main rivers. And another achievement is that we have built a large number of the water conservancy projects. For example, this one is the For example, this one is the left panel here is the Xiaolangdi Reservoir in the Yellow River. So Xiaolangdi Reservoir is the function is that it can control the flooding during the rainy season. Moreover, it guarantees water supply during the low flow and dry season. The right panel here is the Three Gorge project in the Yangtze River. The function here is the mainly function for Three Gorge project is the flood control, electricity production, navigation, and drought elevation. So by building up these projects, we have saved a lot of the flood before. And I know that in Pakistan, there are a lot of the projects that happens in the upper Indus River, and that might be also helpful to prevent the floods and save water for the drought season. And another achievement here is the saving of the direct economic loss, the saving in the direct economic loss. As you can see from this plot, there are very clear pattern that in the in the last century, we see that the economic loss is very high, and we see here that in this century, the percentage has decreased significantly. The numbers is there are average accounts is around 2.37% of GDP in the 1990s, but this number decreased to the 0.6% in this century, in the first 10 years of this century. So it tells us that there are a lot of the very helpful in the economic development. And there are also some problems left. The first problem is the ability of flood for medium and small rivers still have to be improved. For example, the flash floods and the debris flow disaster occur frequently in these small rivers. So what we had is, because as we know, the flash flood doesn't have too much forecasting period, and it is also difficult to monitoring. So the government have been a lot of effort has been devoted to develop new methods and technologies to avoid these problems. And another problem that is open waterlogging becomes a problem in big cities. Because of urbanization, the rainfall runoff process has been changed a lot. So these characteristics have been changed. This is also a problem happened in Pakistan. In Islamabad, in September, that time I stayed, we had a very heavy rain, and in 20 minutes, there are around 10 centimeters depth of water happened in the road, but this kind of water disappeared very soon. Maybe after 1 hour of the stop, when the rain stops, it will disappear. But what happened is this water in the urban area can cause problems. And another one I would like to talk is water supply security. So this is before we are dealing with too much water, and then here we dealing with too little water. What happened is in China we have built up a very good water supply network system, which have been formed utilize various water sources such as surface water and groundwater. And there are various water supply facilities for water storage, division, lifting, regulating. The annual water supply exceeds 600 billion cubic meters. So the tap water, the penetration rate of tap water is above 97%, and the guarantee rate of water supply is above 95%. And the domestic water is almost 100% certified. So as you know, the plot here, the plot here is this one is the Jiangdu Water Conservancy project. So this is as you guys may know, the South to North Water Division, and the Jiangdu Water Conservancy project acts as the source of the eastern route of the South to North Water Division. So the water will come from the Yangtze River, and then by doing the South to North Water Division, we transfer the water to the north area that they have water shortage. So by doing this, we can guarantee the domestic water to almost 100%. And the second achievement here is, as we can see from this plot, this is a bit annoying. As we can see from this plot, so the industrial water consumption here we have plotted the total water consumption by this line. And as you can see, there are around 4 kinds of water consumption. The agricultural water consumption is this line. This is the most important part of the water consumption, which take the most significant role. And then second one is the industrial water, and the next line is the domestic water and the economic water as well. So as we can see from this plot, the industrial water consumption has increased significantly. It is now around 144.7 billion cubic meters, accounts for the 20% of the water consumption around the year of 2010. But before it only accounts for around 10%. So we have a very huge development of the industry, the expansion of the industry, and also the usage of water has been increased. But one thing we are not able to ignore is the agricultural irrigation. Although we see the agricultural irrigation has been more stable as the recent years, but it is also take the most accounts of this water. So it is now nearby around 370 billion cubic meters around the year of 2010. So there are some problems that occurs in China around the water supply. The current water shortage is around 53.6 billion cubic meters, which will affect the area of industry, agriculture, and economy. Although we have a lot of the water transfer system, but the demanding part, we need to focus more on the demanding part, because we can take some of the solutions to save water. But on the other hand, we can also increase the ability of the water supply by doing some of the water transfer problem or by using more groundwater. And here are some numbers. So the main issue for example, the issue for the water usage efficiency accounts For example, here are some numbers. This number, this column is the China water usage of China, the efficiency, and the next one is for some developed countries. And we can see some of the difference happens both in the irrigation. As you can see from here, we are around 0.51, and here it is around 0.7 and 0.8. But for the per 10,000 GDP yuan, we will consume more water. So we have some of the potential to improve the efficiency. In this case, we can save more water. Okay, so there are another problem that happened in China in the last, maybe in the 10 years before, that is the water pollution problems. And you can see here are two plots. One is from the water pollution in Songhua River. There are some chemical pollutions, and another is some ecological pollutions that are in the Taihu Lake, the blooms. And what happens in recent years is China is taking some very positive way to dealing with this. One of the way, you may know, is the river chef system. So every river, every pool has a chef that he will take in charge of this river. So nowadays the rivers and some of the oceans, the rivers, some lakes have been, the water quality has been improved a lot. Now I will make a conclusion of what I present here. So the water crisis facing Pakistan and China are strikingly similar. And what we did is, what we did in the last several years, last 20 years, for example, is the water control flood. That is, we build up the reservoirs and the embankments along the main rivers, and we also trying to dealing with the urban flood. And another one is water safety. Water safety affects both agricultural, industry, and daily life. And the main issue we need to dealing with the water usage efficiency problem. If we can solve this problem, then we can save a lot of water. Okay, so this is the presentation I did today. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Quinn. It was indeed very insightful and very informative. And thank you for sharing the achievements that China has made and how it has successfully dealt with all of its problems related to water conservation and all of
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Our next panelist for today is Dr. Hassan Abbas. He is the Chairman Forte, Integrated Water Resources Management, Pakistan, and he will be discussing the impact of environmental change on water reservoirs. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I also have a presentation, and I would thank Dr. Chen Yu for a very interesting presentation. And surprisingly, my presentation has all the problems that he has identified and the things that we are working on in Pakistan. So it would be a very kind of a collaborative work in future if we move on the same lines. So I would just go with the screen share, and it would be, just bear with me for a minute.
Sure, sir, no problem.
Okay, screen share. Somehow it's not allowing me for the screen share.
Sir, I have made you the co-host. I think it should allow you to share the presentation.
Okay, let me see. Keynote. Preview share. System.
Or if you can share your presentation with me, I can screen share it if there is an issue.
Actually, my presentation is in on Mac. So I don't think so you guys are using Mac. Maybe that is one of the problems. I'm not been able to share my presentation, but
and if you can email it, sir, or WhatsApp it, so I can share it from here, if that is a possibility.
Okay, let me try it once more.
Okay, sure, sir.
All right, I will, what I can do is I can share it with you, and you can share it with all the participants, but I can just speak about it because I don't want to get too much of time just by fixing this problem. Anyway, so we start with the environmental changes and impacts on water reservoirs and what needs to be done. The first thing is that large reservoirs, they are a typical 20th century model of managing rivers, which are completely insensitive to the environmental and ecological impacts and social impacts. And they treat the rivers only as the conduits that carry water. They ignore social, environmental, and ecological impacts, and they use the mountainous valleys just as the storage basins for water. And again, it ignores a lot of social and environmental consequences where a large lake is created by making a reservoir. So in short, the large reservoirs, they are environmentally unsustainable. Then they cannot handle droughts, because whenever you get low rains, the dams are immediately empty. So they don't store enough water to fight for the droughts. Like our rivers, especially the rivers of Pakistan on which we have built large dams, whenever there is a short cycle of drought, the dams are immediately empty. Then our dams, they cannot handle large floods, because our dams are too small compared to the large floods. And if the dams cannot handle droughts and the dams cannot handle large floods, then the prediction of climate change in this region is that the droughts would increase and large floods would increase, and dams cannot handle both of these things. Then, as I mentioned earlier, dams destroy downstream and upstream ecology. They have a short useful life due to silting, because Indus is the 5th most siltiest river in the world. And our 2 large reservoirs that we built about 40 years ago or so, 40 to 50 years ago, those have been silted. And now we are looking to build more dams because the first 2 are silted. And if we build more, they would be silted again. And then what we do next? So due to silting, this huge structure, which is already environmentally destructive, have a short life. And then they cause a lot of social problems, because upstream and downstream communities always fight with each other whenever a river flow is stopped by making a dam. So there are so many social and environmental and other consequences. And last but not the least, the mountains from which Indus originates, those mountains are tectonically one of the most active mountains in the world. These mountains have recorded so many times in the geological history magnitude 8 and above earthquakes. And another 8 and or above earthquake is just a matter of time. It can happen right now. It may not happen another 200 years. We don't know. We cannot predict. Our science right now is too primitive to actually predict the timings of an earthquake of that magnitude with accuracy. But those earthquakes can happen in this area, and a dam built in those mountains, especially a large dam, is a ticking time bomb and can multiply the disaster many times more if such an earthquake happens. So therefore, one of the conclusions from this preamble is that building large dams is not the solution that we should be looking for, which conforms with climate change and which conforms with the safety of the people, which conforms with environmental sustainability, and which conforms with the friendship of the people between upstream and downstream. Therefore, we have to think something different. And the different thing that we are thinking about right now is that actually when the river leaves the mountains, it enters the plains. And those plains are vast and wide and one of the most fertile soils in anywhere in the world. But our, again, old development models have caused so many problems to the plains because we use those fertile soils for irrigation and developing and growing a lot of crops. And we had been doing it successfully for almost last 170 years. The so-called modern canal irrigation system that we applied here. This system worked for us quite well in the beginning, but then the problems of over-irrigation, waterlogging, and salinity, they all started coming in. And with those problems, our soils got deteriorated. We thought that we should not let our rivers flow to the sea because we considered in old development models that it was a waste of water when water goes to the sea. But now we realize that when the water is flowing out to the sea, it is also with it carrying a lot of salts and lot of pollutants. And it is actually cleaning our environment. Now for last maybe 50 years, the flow to the sea is almost finished. All the water that comes into the river is spread out into the canals and into the irrigated areas. Consequently, what is happening? A lot of waterlogging, a lot of salinity, not just in the agricultural lands, but in the towns adjacent to agricultural lands, they are all drowning in salinity. Then, not just this, the flowing water would also take a lot of silt with it. And that silt would not only replenish the soils in the plains, but would also replenish the delta, river delta, and keep a check on the seawater intrusion. Now, all that silt is also stopped in the reservoirs and is diverted into the canals and does not reach the delta. So our delta is eroding. So there are so many problems. But the solution is within our reach. Because what we are doing is, we are, what we have is, actually, we have very large, wide rivers running through the plains. The average width of the rivers in the floodplains, the active floodplains, is about 6.3 kilometers. And the total area of this vast, I would say, riverine corridor is about 21,000 square kilometers. And underneath that area, there's a bed of sand on which the river is running, and that bed of sand contains a minimum of 400 million acre feet of water, which is fresh and which is pristine and which is clean, unpolluted. So that water is our new source, and that is where our investment priorities should be. So in order to utilize that water, we are now working on a concept which is called a riverine well field. And simultaneously, as Dr. Youwei pointed out, that the efficiency of water usage in irrigation sector is very low in China. It is in Pakistan, it is even lower than China. And that is where we can save a lot of water. So one that we use the riverine well fields using the aquifer water that we already have, and then using in the improving the efficiency in the irrigation sector. Just like China, the demand of water for irrigation is highest in Pakistan. Like in China, if it is 70%, in Pakistan, it is about 95% water that goes into irrigation sector. But again, because of very poor efficiency, we waste a lot of water. So we are now developing technologies which are called subsurface moisture management systems, which are very efficient systems. We are in the experimental stages and we have had some very successful experiments in Pakistan. And what we can do with the potential technology that we are developing is we can save between 50 to 70% of water that we are currently using. So if now we are using 95% of water for irrigation, maybe we can produce the same amount of crops and grains using only 20% of water. So with that technology, now though I have a lot of slides about that technology in my presentation that includes the concept of that system, that also includes the experiments and some of the results. And I would be very happy to collaborate with any Chinese university or researchers who are interested in developing that system with the collaboration of, with the mutual collaboration between China and Pakistan. So if that collaboration comes up, I think we can develop a very sound irrigation system which would be both applicable in China and Pakistan and would save a lot of water in the irrigation sector. So at the end, what we do is when we talk about developing water resources, we just don't see one type of solution. We suggest that we look at different solutions, like building dams and canals was one very old system. It is still being used. It may still be useful in some cases. But then there are other systems which are like aquifer management, riverine well fields, and soil moisture management systems. So in order to see what we should do in future, we should compare the different solutions together. We must do the due diligence of every system and then see which system is the best. And then we should go with that system. And it is not necessary that one system would be best everywhere. Maybe one system is best in the southern plains of Punjab and another system is best in the mountains of Pakistan. So we should not just focus on one system. We should bring in all the systems together and then compare them in a very systematic manner. Again, in my presentation, I have suggested a due diligence matrix, which tells how these systems could be compared with each other, and then whichever system is economically and environmentally and sustainably is the best, that should be adopted. So that's all from my presentation. I'm again sorry I could not share my slides. There were some very interesting graphics in my slides, but I would share my slides with the host, and I hope that would be shared with others. And every other person is most welcome to contact me and we can discuss it further. I will also add my contact email in the slides so that those who get my slides can directly contact me and we can share and we can think about collaboration on scientific basis, especially in making our irrigation sector more efficient. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I will surely be sharing the presentation with our friends and partners from China. And I would just like to mention over here that as Dr. Hassan has already invited our Chinese partners to work together on all of these issues that both of our countries are facing. So I would just like to put it out there that Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future, we are actually aiming to connect academicians and experts from both sides, from Pakistan and to China, to find common solutions to the problems that both of our countries are facing. And that is basically the aim of this vision that we call Community with Shared Future, that our communities, our future, it is together, it is connected in one way or another. And that is why we need to find common solutions for the problems that are faced by Pakistan and China both. So I would second Dr. Hassan Abbas, and we will be very happy to invite collaborations and cooperations from our friends in China. And as he has already mentioned that he is ready to cooperate, we have other experts as well in Pakistan that would be happy to cooperate with our friends in China. With that, thank you again, Dr. Hassan Abbas, for a very interesting presentation. And as soon as I receive the slides, I will be sharing them with our friends in China. Our next panelist for today is Dr. Shu Liu. He is the Associate Professor at the Department of Hydrology and Water Resources at the Hohai University, Nanjing, China. And he will be discussing sustainable water resource management in China and the concept of sponge cities. Over to you, sir.
Can I share my screen now?
Yes, sir. You are the co-host. You may share your screen.
Can you see the slides? Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir. They're quite visible. Can you please move your mic a little bit closer because your voice is a little bit low for us?
Sure, just a second. Is that become better?
Much better. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Qin and Dr. Abbas, for your excellent presentation. My name is Zhu Liu from Hohai University. And it's my honor to be here to give a presentation to all of you. And today my topic is sustainable water resource management in China, understanding the concept of sponge cities. Again, also thank you very much for the Pakistan Research Center for communication with the shared future for this invitation. So today my presentation's guidelines are as follows. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the sponge city and sustainable water management in China. And secondly, I'm going to talk about the major components of a sponge city. And lastly, I will give some well-built examples of the well-built sponge cities. So firstly, let me make it a full screen. So firstly, what is a sponge city? So if you look at the left panel and it gives you an expectation, so it's like a sponge. So we are building a city on top of a sponge. It's not a real sponge, but we are assuming those underground portion is like a sponge part. So when the rainfall comes, it can directly infiltrate into the underground, and then when it becomes drier later, we can reuse the water we solve in the underground portions. But on top of the ground, we can actually build some like green infrastructures or wetlands, grass, trees, etc. So the sponge city should have the great resilience when facing with environmental change and natural disasters, and we're making the water cycle more natural. So the relation between climate change and sponge cities. We know that since especially last few decades, climate has great variabilities. So the left figure, the figures on the left panel, the upper one shows the raining days, like average raining days in China since 1960s. And the lower one shows the total raining days from all sites. So we can clearly find that the raining days has decreased sharply in the last half centuries. However, comparatively, the extreme raining days increased significantly. So this means that the rainfall becomes more concentrated. It's more like it comes in a very short period of time. So this brings new challenges of urban floods and water sewage systems. So President Xi of China says that the priority way is to utilize the natural power to keep and use the rainfall water and build natural stored, natural infiltrated, natural purified sponge cities. So if you look at the figures here, so when raining, we want the sponge city has a function to absorb water, save water, purify water, and infiltrate water. But when needed, we can release water and use water. So next, I'm going to give a concept of the LID, which means low impact development. The left figures shows the traditional urban development. So we may use asphalt concrete or some non-permeable materials to pave the road. So it means it will have a very high curve numbers so that more like the flow can only like be transported away from the urban sewage system like pipes itself, but from the ground, it's like almost all becomes flow. So this means like it's not very environmental friendly. So now we are making some low impact development, which means we have less impact when we make the cities, and we are making it more like the natural itself. So if you look at the red panels, we have the green roofs. We make some vegetation on top of the buildings. We have grass, we have trees, and we use a permeable asphalt concrete or some materials so that it can lower down the curve numbers. So when rain comes, a great portion of the precipitation will directly infiltrate into the underground and become the underground storage, right? So the flow underground will decrease. So this will like lower down the chance of floods. So the benefits of a smart city. So it's a collection of water during rainy day seasons and extreme precipitation events, save water and reutilize of water resources. It can improvement of city ecological systems. So next, I'm going to talk about the major components of a smart cities. So actually, when making a smart city, it have very complex steps as many components. But since today we only have 8 to 10 minutes presentation, so I summarize the 3 major components, make some steps together. But so when you want to build a smart city, you need to have these 3 facilities. The first one is the water collection facilities. The second one is water storage facilities, and last one is water usage facilities. Now I will talk about them one by one. So collection. So first we need to collect the waters. For example, there are many different types of water collection facilities. Rainfall garden is one of them. So the red panel shows the cross sections of a rainfall garden. So it has a vegetation layers, and below it, it has a coverage layers. So below the coverage layer, it has soil layers. So the coverage layer is like you put some bricks or gravels, like the bigger ones of stones there, so that it can keep the soils below it from flushing away during the rain. And below the soil layers is the sand layers and gravel layer again. So inside the gravel layer on the bottom, we usually have a perforated pipe. So when the rain comes, it can gradually infiltrate into this underground portions. And at excessive rain, if it's a small rain, it all absorbed by this sand and soil and gravel. But if it's a bigger rains or extreme rainfall, after it's saturated, the extra rain will be like transported away from the perforated pipe. Another type is a permeable roads. So traditionally, if we use a brick for example, making a road, we make them one by one, very light fractures or like spaces between them, so that and the concrete, the materials of the concrete is like non-permeable. But now we are making some when we pave the road, we are designing it like this. If you look at the red upper one panels, so we make some holes in the middles, and so that the soils and make some grass or different type of vegetations there, so that when a rain comes, a great portion of it can infiltrate. Similarly, we can use a new type of materials that if you look at the lower right panels, so it's a permeable asphalt concrete, so that it can it can infiltrate a great portion of rainfall. So green roof is another type of the water collection facilities. So this is so usually we also make it have a slope. So when we put some soils and vegetations on top of the roof, So firstly, it can clean the environment. It can absorb the carbon dioxide and mix oxygens. Definitely, it can make the scenery more beautiful. And again, when it's collecting the rainwater, it also has a function to purify the water. After it's purified through the soils, it will be transported through the slopes, and it will usually collecting to a pipe or some other types of water transport canals and to some other places. And if you make a green roofs on top of buildings, you can also make recreation areas. This is a very great way to make to save space for especially the industrial regions and or like very densely populated area. The second one is the water storage facilities. For example, rain barrels is one type of that. When you're collecting your water on top of the roof, if you look at the picture here, this one is not, they are not using green roofs, but this is just a regular household. So but after they collecting the water, they transport the water away through the water pipes. And after the water pipe is connecting to barrels on the ground, so that the rainwater can be saved. And later it can be used, right? So soak up the rain. Rain barrels capture water from the roof and hold it for later use, such as on lawns, gardens, or indoor plants. It's a great way to conserve water, and it's free water for use in your landscape. So man-made wetlands. So we know natural wetland, but human can also make wetland itself. So it's actually a pond, right, in front of the in the environment of wild places. So man-made wetland could serve as a storage pond for rain gardens, grass ditches, and deposit impurity contents. And also it can make it a wetland scenery. So this is a great place to storage water. And usually people when making this type of man-made wetlands, they usually build a park in China. So the wetland, and along with the scenery, grass, and also the trees, flowers next to it, it's a very great place for barbecue, hiking, and family gathering. So underground tank is also one type of the water collection facilities. So it's especially useful for the densely populated areas where we cannot build too many wetlands, or rain barrels is not enough to save this water. So you can use underground portions. So you can see this is like a very big tank underground. So it's connected to some facilities from the buildings, and after it can for the industrial places or residential areas, both of them are good. So the water will be transported to this tank. It's similar to the barrels, but it's barrels is more like for personal household or smaller places, but this one is underground, and it has a larger volume and usually great for densely populated regions. Next, about the water usage facilities. So after we collect the water, storage water, so we can use the water for later. It definitely depends on we can use it for the street, for example, the street cleaning, lawn irrigations, concrete mixing, scenery usage. Definitely what I show here is just some samples, but if you are connecting to them some purification systems, the water can have higher level of usage, for example, even for drinking. But it definitely needs to have a purification systems. So the water can also be used for car washing and toilet flushing. This can save the water a lot. So lastly, I'm going to give examples some of well-built sponge cities in China and other parts of the world. So this is one example of the green roofs in China. This is Shenzhen University. Shenzhen is like very developed places in China in the very southern part. So Shenzhen University, you can see these buildings, they grow different types of of these vegetations. Yeah, and also if you look at the bricks, it's all permeable like bricks. This is another examples of rain barrels for the residential areas. So they collected rainfall on top of the roof, and then they use pipes to connect it to the rain barrels on the ground to keep the water. So this is another example of a very famous park in Germany. So they use this this pond to keep the water. You can see when they design the buildings all have a very special design, have a slope, right? For example, this triangle, so that water can be gathered, like because they have a slope, the water when rain comes, the water can be gathered into the pond to save the water. It's very similar to the wetlands we make, but yeah, this is the way they did in Germany. So in Singapore, because Singapore is next to the ocean, so this is one facilities close to the coastal regions. It's specially designed for the tide. When tide comes, so they can collect the water, and when tide goes away, they absorb the water and transport the water away, tide water away to some other places for usage. So this is all I have for today. Because of time is limited. So I just give a very brief introduction about the smart city constructions. Thanks very much for your attention. If you have further questions, this is my email address at Hohai University, and please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very interesting presentation. And I hope that all of our participants must be really amazed and surprised to see that China has created so many different ways to preserve water and to use it and reuse it again and again in very sustainable ways. And I hope that Dr. Hassan can add to it later that if we can implement some of these things in Pakistan as well, and if we can use them as well. So we will come to this discussion at the end of the conference. Our next panelist for today is Mr. Faakhar Reza. He is the director of the Pakistan Council of Research and Water Resources, PCRWR Regional Office, Lahore. And he will be discussing role of PCRWR in digitalizing the agriculture sector vis-a-vis water management, research, and innovative projects. Over to you, sir.
Just 1 second.
Can I share my screen now?
Yes, sir, you may share your screen.
Okay, thank you. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to share my thoughts on this forum. Let me share my screen and discuss the things regarding our role in digitizing agriculture and water management. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, quite visible.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Faakhar Reza. I'm director in Pakistan Council of Research in Water Resources. Pakistan Council of Research in Water Resources has, just for introduction, that it has its head office in Islamabad and 8 regional offices, which are water resources research centers in big cities of Pakistan. And we have 24 national network of water quality laboratories. And then we have an institute for capacity building in Islamabad, and research and demonstration farms to demonstrate the technologies we develop and the research we conduct, and then we demonstrate at our research and demonstration farms. We have a groundwater investigation cell and soil physics lab in our head office in Islamabad, tile drainage equipment in our Tandojam office, and then we have 4 lysimeter stations where we conduct research on crop water requirements for different ecological zones of Pakistan.
Other than that, we have a desertification control and a demonstration station as well in near Bahawalpur. It's called Deengad, and the desert is Thal. And then we have a library and documentation of information on our website as well. So coming to digitalization, let me share first this Indus telemetry system, which we, along with another International Water Management Institute, have instrumented the canals in all 4 provinces in Pakistan. We have instrumented some 10 canals in KPK, 4 canals in Sindh, 1 in Punjab and 1 in Balochistan, where we do flow measurement and we display it in all the relevant government offices like IRSA, WAPDA, and in our headquarter PCRWR, irrigation departments. So the concerned, with all the concerned departments to take them on board for a trust building, that what initially it was initiated because of this mistrust between the provinces, that what flows are coming to which province. So this was the initiative. So we do continuous flow measurement and display. It's a real-time telemetry system, and because of this initiative, we have observed that some trust issues are now resolved in provinces. So this was regarding surface water, and if we discuss regarding groundwater, we have installed CTD divers. We have some 100 piezometers around Lahore, and in 6 districts, out of which 10 are equipped with the CTD divers, and we get real-time data from them. Other than that, we are going to install similar equipment.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but your slides are not changing. If you can kindly change your slide as well, so our audience can look at the slides as well while you are explaining.
I think when I go this full screen mode or slide share mode, then maybe it's not changing. Let me. Now
it's changing. Now we can see the slide. Now we can see it.
So was this visible in the telemetry?
No, it wasn't visible before, but now we can see it.
Okay, so should I explain it again, or just an overview that what I have talked about Indus telemetry system? It was installed in all 4 provinces for creating trust building, and we do flow measurement on all 10 canals in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and 4 canals in Sindh, and 1 canal in Punjab and Sindh as well. And the data flow measurement is also displayed in relevant offices with IRSA, WAPDA, PCRWR. So this was an initiative for creating trust building between provinces over water sharing. Is it changed now?
Yes, sir, changed and visible.
Okay. So regarding groundwater, I have explained that we have some more than 100 piezometers around Lahore and 6 districts, and we do groundwater level monitoring in real time. A similar intervention now is being made in Islamabad capital area, where we are going to install with Capital Development Authority some 40 CTD divers for groundwater monitoring, because Islamabad area is a kind of water crisis area, and we, along with the Capital Development Authority, we have initiated a project for groundwater recharge, and for this groundwater recharge to visualize the storage changes, we are going to install some 40 CTD divers there as well. So for example, what I have talked about Lahore, here you can see in this map that some temporal changes of between 2019 and 2021. Here you can see that groundwater level near urban center is quite fastly depleting, some 2 meters in this time. And in some areas near the river Ravi, there is a recharge, although that area is not too much, but mostly it's depleting. Then we have a project regarding satellite-based groundwater monitoring, and we, along with the University of Washington and NASA Water, using this GRACE data, we are processing it for groundwater monitoring in Pakistan, in all and throughout the Indus Basin. So here is an example where you can see that how this water storage is changing in different months of a year in 2016. So for example, here, if we see between 2003 and 2009 in this highlighted area, we can see that how much groundwater storage has decreased. Where this is blue, I will explain in next slide that how it is gaining some recharge when we have some flooding events. So here you see that when we had a flood in 2010, we had some recharge and our groundwater storage has increased in this area. Then regarding irrigation scheduling in agriculture sector, we have introduced some state-of-the-art equipment like this chameleon sensor. It was developed somewhere in Australia, and we have partnered with them for its introduction in our country. So the principle of this moisture sensor is based on measuring the available water through electrical resistivity. So it has 3 probes, as you can see in this right side photo, and these are installed at these sensors are installed at different depths. So we can see that at what depth what soil moisture is available. And on right side you can see light emitting diodes in different colors. So when it measures that the soil is too dry and the farmer must irrigate, it pops up this red light, and blue means that it has sufficient soil moisture. And the farmers then decide that when to irrigate, and then how much to irrigate, I will come next. So here, this is another instrument called full stop. This actually detects that how wetting front is being created. These 2 sensors are installed at different depths. You can see in this photo. So the first one indicates when the soil is partially saturated. It has different color, and the second one is buried according to root depth of the plant. So when our irrigation water reaches to that level, then it pops up that we should stop our irrigating so we don't lose the nutrients, fertilizers, what we are applying through this irrigation. And from this reservoir under this indicator, you can see the red pots. We can collect the water samples and measure their EC and nitrogen strips are available, that we can see how much we are losing in terms of fertilizers. Another instrument is a tensiometer. We usually make it in our offices. We manufacture it, and then we conduct its experiment as well on our research and demonstration farm. So this instrument also helps us to schedule our irrigation. So for example, this year in wheat season, we have seen that what irrigation we have done. In this area, we have soil, available soil moisture for this soil is around 32 millimeter, and we decide to keep it on 50% deficit, that is 16 mm, and then we apply our irrigations according to this instrument. When it tells us that the moisture is depleting and we reach to deficit line, and then we start irrigation. So here you can see that we have applied some 4 irrigations, and when we compare it with the neighboring farmers, they somehow are more than 4, somewhere it's 5 or 6 irrigations what they have applied. So it results in water conservation and for a better irrigation scheduling. And the trend, when we compare this with the chameleon sensor, which is a little more sensitive, we can see that trend is similar in both the cases. The technologies which we have till now developed or introduced is one I have. So when for this satellite based groundwater monitoring, based on this data, we also do ICT based irrigation advisory to the farmers, that how much is the evapotranspiration in their area and what is the coefficient of crop KC in their area, and we our algorithm calculates that how much irrigation they need to manage in the coming week. So we send this through SMS to the farmers that you can act accordingly. Then I have mentioned this telemetry system already, soil moisture tool, chameleon, full stop tensiometer I have explained. And then we have this drainage technology to reclaim our farmlands. We have this where in the areas where we have this waterlogging issues, we can drain the water through this tile drainage technology for land reclamation. Leaky dams to recharge depleted aquifers, like in Balochistan, we have another technologies introduced. Inverted wells to recharge groundwater. We have this prototype in our offices in Lahore and Islamabad, and now it's being replicated in ICT area, as I've already explained. So it's quite useful technology to replenish our depleting aquifers. Then we have some rainwater harvesting ponds in the Cholistan desert, like I have already mentioned. Some hydraulic ramp pump we have introduced, and cultivation on water conservation techniques like cultivation on beds. We have experimented it for rice, wheat, and banana. And for drip irrigation on operating on low pressure, we have experimented skimming wells, water bird for automatic switching, safe water filter for domestic level, where we can test our water quality at home, whether it has some bacteriological contamination in it, or, and then we can we have developed an arsenic kit as well for measuring arsenic contamination in our water, because we have it quite common in our areas. Then we have developed some safe water sachets for chlorination and tablets for our water tanks at domestic and household level. Some major achievements, I think I have already mentioned most of them. I just want to mention here that we have some ongoing knowledge partnerships with some international renowned organizations like ACIR, UNESCO, IWMI, FAO, Asian Foundation, World Bank, and we have done a lot of work with them and our research work is also communicated and shared with the stakeholders throughout the country, because we are the federal government organization and we share our produced knowledge with the provincial stakeholders and decision makers for better taking up the research to field level. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very detailed presentation. And there is no doubt that PCRWR has been playing and is already playing a very important role when it comes to digitalizing our water sector. And it is very amazing to see how your organization has helped our farmers and the agriculture sector of Pakistan. So indeed, it is wonderful. I have received the slides of Dr. Hassan Abbas, and I will be emailing them to all of our friends from China, and they will also be available on our social media platforms. I will make sure to share some snippets of it. Our next panelist for today is Dr. Zhong K. Feng. He is a professor at the College of Hydrology and Water Resources at the Hohai University, Nanjing, China. And he will be sharing his views on China's agriculture and water policy reforms. And he will also be highlighting that how China can assist Pakistan in this particular sector. Sir, I am making you the co-host of the meeting, so you may share your screen and continue with your presentation.
Okay. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we can see it, sir.
Okay. Next, it's my turn to give a report about China's agriculture and water policy reform. How can China assist Pakistan? My name is Zhong Kai Feng, and I'm from Hohai University. Next, I will report my PowerPoint from 4 sections. The first one is I wanted to share some problems about agricultural water resources. The second is about the measures for agricultural water resources. The third one is current situation of water resources in China. And finally, I want to report some water resource reform policies in China. Next is the first agricultural water resources problems. As we know, in China, there is a huge contradiction between water supply and the demand of water resources. In recent years, as the economy developed rapidly and the water resource demand grew rapidly, and however, the water resources is limited. So there is a contradiction between water supply and water demand. And then water resource shortage has seriously affected the food safety and agriculture economy. Next is about the groundwater resource overexploitation. Groundwater resources exploitation has caused many problems. For example, the land is dry up, and then the food maybe cannot get the ideal conditions. The third is about the low utilization efficiency of agricultural water. Due to the traditionally, due to the lack of effective agriculture irrigation systems and the effective management and allocations, and many farmland irrigations is not satisfying, and the waste of agricultural water resources is very serious. So the second I want to report about the the measures for agricultural water resources. Generally, many effective measures have been taken to promote the governor's ability in recent years. For example, we want to improve the water resource utilization and by means the agricultural waters, and then wastewater treatment technology and water saving awareness and new countryside constructions. Next, I will report these sections from several aspects. The first I want to the first measure is to increase the protection and the conservation of agricultural water resources. The second is to improve the quality of water for ecology, environmental. The third one is to optimize rural treatment and recovery technology. The fourth is to strengthen efficient water saving and improve the utilization rate of water resources. The last one is to improve water saving awareness and legal systems. Efficient water saving measures and high standard farmland have been built in China, like engineering supporting information and intelligent management systems and construction scaffolding. For example, in recent years, AI technologies and big data technologies have been used in China agricultural water resources. The second one is about to develop reasonable and effective management measures to improve the management of agricultural water resources. The protection functions of agricultural water protection agencies are used to improve the punishment, which can help the public institutions and individuals to help us treatment the limited water resources. The third one is about to pay attention to the wastewater and which can help us to improve the quality of agricultural water resource systems. The last one is to promote the development of modern agriculture. The traditional method may be limited and lead to some waste of waters. So in recent years, many modern technologies are used to improve the application of information and intelligent technologies. For example, I mentioned about before, big data and artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. These advanced technologies are becoming more and more popular in agricultural water resources. The last one is to improve the water saving awareness of all the people. As we know, the whole world is composed of many people. If all the people don't take part in their roles, the whole world may cannot be become the ideal one. So it's very important that the water saving awareness of all the people to help us conserve our limited waters. Besides, the water resource management rules and laws and regulations and policies are also improved to help all the people help take part in the water resource protections. By far, I want to report the current situation of water resources. In China, water is more in the south and in the east, but less in the north and the west. In time scale, water is more in summer and autumn, but less in winter and spring. Besides, growing extreme climates and human activities also increase the flood pressures. So there are serious contradiction between water supply and water demand. because of the low water resource utilization rate and the limited available water supply shortage. The third one is about water loss and soil erosion due to many factors from both human activities and nature environmentals. The fourth huge water problem is pollution due to the industry, wastewater, and agriculture drainage. So next, I want to report the water resource reform policies. There are many policies. Next, I will give a typical water policy. It's about most stream water resource management region. It is composed of two aspects. One is the 3 red line and 4 systems. For the third line, for the three red lines, the first, the red line for the development and the utilization of water resources, and China's total water consumption is limited to 700 billion cubic meters by 2030. The second red line for continuing water use efficiency by 2030, water utilization efficiency is close to the world advanced level, while the water consumption for industry added values is less than 40 cubic meter. The third red line for limited pollution intake in water function areas. It is also there are also some index to be raised. And the fourth systems, it is composed of 4 aspects. The first one is total water control. The second one is water efficiency control system. And the third one is water function either in the secure collection system. And the last one is water resource management responsive and assistant system. So there is a brief conclusions. As we know, the water resources in time and space are not very good, which may lead to the contradiction between water and many factors like economy and the population. The second one is the growing human activities and climate changes also made serious impacts on the water resource systems and social and economic development over the world. In the past decades, China has made greater efforts and achieved success in addressing the serious water resource problem by using many effective engineering and non-engineering measures. So these useful measures may provide reference for Pakistan agriculture and water policy reforms. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing the measures that have been taken by China and what measures can we in Pakistan can we apply on our water and agriculture system to better sustain it and better deal with it. So that was our last panelist for today. I would like to ask if any of our audience members has any comment or any question. You may raise your hand and I will unmute your mic. I would like to Dr. Hassan Abbas. Sir, if you can comment on the suggestions given by our Chinese friends, and if you think that any of them can be applied to Pakistan as well, I would like to know about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak again. I think some of the things that our Chinese friends have talked about are very relevant to Pakistan. And especially there are 2 things that I would like to mention in very specific terms. One is the concept of sponsorship that they discussed, and the other is the need of making water use more efficient, especially in the agriculture sector. And I think these are the 2 areas where we can have a lot of collaboration, because in parallel processing on water efficiency, we are also working, and what we are doing is something very different from our Chinese friends, and that is where the collaboration will benefit both of us, because when they would be teaching us their methods, we would be collaborating with them with our things, and that is where the progress is made, because two different types of technologies coming together, and you are getting the best out of the two. Second part, the Sponge City part, is I think it is fantastic, and I'm very pleased to actually inform that at quite a few places right now, we are actually carrying on with the concept of Sponge City. One is a place called Hohai Housing Scheme, which is very close to the capital city of Islamabad. This is a development by the Pakistan Air Force, and we have suggested a design for their development, which includes all these elements of rainwater harvesting, detention ponds, drainage swales, recharge trenches, recharge wells, and then as our friend was telling, that it more looks like landscaping, but underneath there's a complete system of collecting and storing water in the underground areas. And then one of our friends mentioned about the urban flooding in Islamabad, and I'm very pleased to hear that, because that urban flooding event which happened last year has made headlines in Pakistan, and even Chinese are keeping an eye on that, and as our good friends, they want us to avoid those kind of situations in future. And once again, I'm very pleased to inform that Capital Development Authority, that is CDA, which is responsible for the development of Islamabad, is actually undertaking a very serious study in order to find out what went wrong. And fortunately, I'm part of that study, and we are also suggesting to implement the elements of low impact design or Sponge City in various parts of Islamabad. So I think we have a lot of room and a lot of areas where we can collaborate, and we are very thankful to our Chinese friends who have shared a huge set of knowledge with us in this short time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have been joined by Rakfei Kama from the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences. So I am unmuting your mic, and you may share your thoughts with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I want to say thank you for organizing such an important conference. And actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to ask Mr. Julio to if he can share his PPT, because his work is closely related to what I'm doing now, and I am so much interested. So I would like, if it is possible, to share his PPT. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to inform all of our participants that today's conference was live on our Facebook page, Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future. It was live on the Facebook page of our center. So as it was live, all of the presentations and the complete discussion of today's conference, you can revisit it on our Facebook page. You can also revisit the slides and take out the information that you want to. So that is what we can do for you. And again, our professors are always, available. They have already shared their email addresses with all of you, so you can get in touch with them. But if you want the slides, they are available on our Facebook page as the conference was live over there. So with that, okay, Mr. Zhu has agreed that he can share the slides. So if he can email us the slides, I will make sure to email them to Rakfei Kama. Thank you so much, sir. Again, so that was the end of our today's conference. And on behalf of Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future, I would like to extend my gratitude to all of our speakers from Pakistan and from China who joined us today and shared their expertise, their thoughts, and their views with us. And I'm sure that this was a great learning opportunity for our friends in China and for us in Pakistan, because under the Community for a Shared Future, this is what we believe, that by working together and by sharing knowledge, by sharing ideas, by sharing solutions for the common problems that we share, only then we can attain the idea of a community with a shared future and dialogue of civilizations. So with that, I really hope that we can continue this cooperation and that both the countries can cooperate in the field of water management and water security. And we invite more cooperation, we invite more ideas from our Chinese friends and from our Pakistani friends, and we are ready to be a building bridge between the experts from Pakistan and China. And with that, we would conclude today's conference. Again, thank you very much, everyone, and Allah.